and welcome to the Ankita Creations podcast. I'm your host, Elle. And if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. So today we have a really fun episode. I had just thought about this idea actually as I was wrapping up my last short series, which, if you haven't listened to those 3 episodes, please do. It is about crime series, serial killers, anywhere from the 18th century, 19th century, and 20th. So if you are a fan of that, please go check out the 3 previous episodes, which are going to be in all of my platforms: Apple, Audible, Amazon. What else is out there? YouTube. There's quite a few options on there, as this episode will also be in all those platforms. I don't know if YouTube gets a lot of views. Maybe I just don't do a good job promoting it on there. It sounds to me like a lot of people just do the podcast for listening and not really viewing. So I'm not sure if I'm going to continue to upload the episodes onto YouTube for the long run, but we'll see how that goes. It's just easier to do it when I have it on all the other platforms because it's quite easy. I'm gonna give you a bit of my secrets here. I actually, a while back, about I would say 2 years ago, I opened a free account through Castbox. That's a lesser known platform, I feel, for podcast programs. And what's so cool about Castbox, and I'm not sponsored, I wish I was, is that when you upload it once to their platform, they're the ones that connect you to all the other ones. So you only upload it once, write in your description, and then they distribute that episode to all your other platforms, providing you an RSS link. So that's really what, connects you to all those other platforms, which is amazing because it saves you a lot of time versus YouTube, where you have to kind of give it a few minutes for it to make sure that you're not copywriting, that you don't have any music that you're copywriting, and just creating the video itself. So that's kind of my insight on that. If you are interested, I've actually heard quite a few different individuals lately that they are wanting to get started or got started and didn't finish creating a podcast show. And to that, I say, give it a try. For me, it's more or less because I'm a yapper. I love talking. And unfortunately for me, I just don't really have an inner circle right now that is that meets my yapping needs. And so this is kind of an outlet for me to get it out of my system. So if you do have any questions on how to get started, you all know that I am an open book. I love helping. Just reach out to me in any of my social media accounts, or if you have my any other form of communication, just reach out. I will help you out and get you started. But without further ado, we're going to get started on our episode today, which is very spooky, creepy, very interesting, and educational as well. And we're going to be talking about 3 legends here. Some of these you might have already heard me talk about in the past, but they're still very much popular. And I just feel like we're going to do a quick rundown. And I might do this a few other times just because I have gained so many new listeners and supporters. So thank you for that. And I want to just bring that original vibe back to the channel. So if you do hear me, just bear with me. I'm going to try and mix it up. New content with some old stuff, just to kind of bring new light into these legends and these topics that I am going to be talking about. But we're going to get started with one of the most known, I would say, creatures to come out of Latin America, which is a chupacabra. So the first news report that came out was in Puerto Rico in the 1990s. And after that initial news report, which I don't know if you are familiar, but if you lived in a Hispanic household in the 90s, my mom was obsessed with Primer Impacto. And Primer Impacto was notorious for making news like this just super just exaggerated. Like they would exaggerate just the smallest things. And this is one of those reports I remember very clearly. My mom freaking out because, they didn't quite know what this creature was. And just like quickfire, it spread across Latin America and southern US. A lot of Texas sightings. And this was in the 90s. And the description of this creature is being a small reptilian creature with spines, glowing red eyes, and a thirst for livestock blood. Theories on how this creature came to being is it was either an alien experiment, mutated animal, or purely mythical. Some people think that it just wasn't real. There are a few eyewitness accounts from farmers in Puerto Rico, and there was a case in 1995, which is what really started this whole craziness, where 8 sheep were found drained of blood. The 1995 case, which again emerged in Puerto Rico in 1995, reports a creature attacking and draining livestock, sparking widespread fear and fascination, and later spreading to other parts of the world. So it says that in I'm going to keep saying 1995 because it keeps saying it in this article. But in March, reports surfaced in Puerto Rico of 8 sheep found dead, each with punctured wounds and drained of blood. Madeline Tolentino claimed to have seen the creature in Canovanas, Puerto Rico, describing it as hairy with spikes on its back. The report of the Chupacabra quickly spread throughout Puerto Rico and later to other countries, including the United States, Mexico, and South America. The Puerto Rican government became involved, bringing in biologists to investigate the animal deaths as concern grew about the impact on tourism. The Chupacabra case remains unresolved, with some attributing the deaths to dogs or coyotes with mangy, while others continue to believe in the mythical creature. The story of the Chupacabra was widely reported in the media, including local news, national news outlets, and even on television shows. It became a culture phenomenon, inspiring songs, spoofs, and even a new alcoholic beverage. And actually, I have seen that at my local HEB. You all know I'm from Texas, and I love HEB. It's a little pricier than Aldi, which I actually go back and forth a lot. And that's just because Aldi is what I grew up on. I am originally from Chicago, if y'all didn't know. And up in the Midwest, Aldi was a big deal. Here in Texas, not so much. I feel like here it's more like HEB. So, but anyway, and off topic. It is interesting how quickly just one story blew up around the world. And to this day, you will find movies, books, stories, myself included, have taken from this legend and written somewhat similar story in my scary stories to keep you up at night books, which if you haven't taken a look at that, they are on Amazon. And I recently re um, released the second volume because I redid the cover as well as the inside. Originally, the book, the volume 2 book, was all black inside, and it sounded great when I made it. But once I got a printout of it, I just didn't like it as much. Just it was hard to read. I felt like everything kind of just merged together within the book as far as the text went, and I just didn't love it. So I went ahead and re-released it just about 2 weeks ago. You can find it at Amazon. It is called Scary Stories to Keep You Up at Night, or you can just Google my name, Eliana Estrada. That is my government name. And you'll find it on there. You can order yourself a copy. All right, moving along to our second folktale. So this one you might be very familiar because it has been around for decades, honestly. It is a Mexican folktale with variations across Latin America, and I'm referring to La Llorona, a ghostly woman in white, weeping and searching for her drowned children. The story goes that a woman drowned her children in a fit of rage or despair, then spends eternity mourning them. So there are many different claims and many different accounts that you will find online. They are very similar in the sense that it is a woman that is crying, weeping for her children at night near a river because she drowned them, and she is just in a state of shock, doesn't understand that they're gone, no longer living, and so she is searching for them for eternity for her crime. There was a sighting that is just kind of has made its waves in the internet, and this is in Texas in the 1960s. The sighting goes, and there's not like, I would say, like documented evidence of this, but there's just like a floating legend, as folklorists often classify these stories, because they're vague enough to be adapted to different areas and circumstances. The story La Llorona can vary significantly from region to region, with some versions being more monstrous. Oh man, I can't say that word. More sinister. Let's use that instead. More sinister than others. There are some versions of La Llorona that are linked to La Malinche, a figure from the Spanish conquest of Mexico who is said to have born a child to Hernan Cortes. So, if you're not familiar, that's a very interesting, actually, insight to the story, because that's the first time I hear about it. But La Malinche was a Nahuatl woman who served as Hernan Cortes' interpreter and concubine, particularly in folklore and culture narratives. So, depending on who you ask and how you go about this history, and I don't want it to become too much of a history story because I'm not too educated on the matter. But La Malinche, also known as Doña Marina, was a crucial figure during the Spanish conquest of Mexico, acting as an interpreter and advisor to Hernan Cortes. So, in some versions of La Llorona legend, she's portrayed as La Malinche, an indigenous woman jilted by a Spanish lover who, in despair, drowns her children. This conflation has led to La Llorona becoming a symbol of the historical gendered violence suffered by women during times of conquest, and a cautionary tale about betrayal and the dangers of straying from family and culture. So, if y'all don't know, that Malinche is considered someone who betrayed her people. So that is where the two intertwine, in the sense that La Llorona did betray her family, her kids. She killed them, right? She, like I said, many different story variations, but the one that I grew up on was that she killed them because her husband or lover had um, ran away with somebody else, and he either didn't want the children or left her because of the children, and this is why she killed them. And then later on realizes what she did. So it is very interesting how they intertwine these two stories together. And finally, for this specific episode, because I'm sure there'll be many like this in our future, our last creature comes from the Aztec mythology, called Ahuizotl, a dog like creature with a hand on its tail, said to drag victims to their watery graves. He is known to be the guardian of lakes and rivers, feared by fishermen and travelers. There's a legend of a fisherman who encountered this creature and barely escaped, and he's also believed to be the servant of the rain god Tlatlok. And again, I am working on my Nahuatl pronunciation, but some of these are a little bit harder than I thought they were going to be. So bear with me. I'm trying to get better. And I do think I'm going to touch a little bit more on specifically Aztec folklore, because it is very interesting. And I feel like there's just so much correlation on the beliefs that the Nahuatl people had and what we're living today. So it is a deep dive. I'm sure that's going to be more than one episode in our near future for sure. The common theme with the tales is blending myth and reality. So just like I mentioned, that's why it's interesting to me to start bringing these specific folk tales and creatures from the Aztec um, culture just more into the show. So it should be interesting. I'm excited, to start doing that. And a little bit more on the Ahuizotl is that it is described as, again, a black, slippery, hairy beast with a long tail ending in a hand, believed to live in water, associated with the rain god, that look, in his domain of water and storms. It is said to have a taste for body parts like nails, teeth, and eyes, and its victims are often found missing these parts. Scientists believe that this creature might be related to animals like otters or ferrets. Imagine finding yourself in front of an otter big enough that it can drag you underwater. Now, that is definitely a sight I do not wish to to experience. But that basically concludes our episode. I know it was a quick one, but again, we're going to be touching on topics and folklore that we have talked about in the past. So if you do want a little bit of a deeper dive into these, go through my previous episodes. These go back to about 2 years now. And again, you can find them on any platform that I've mentioned earlier. Give them a listen. Let me know what else you would like to hear more about. And I do have an update actually. In the next month or so, we're going to be featuring two very special ladies that I'm working with. One is actually a travel agent as well. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that and also her encounters while traveling, spooky paranormal stuff. And the other is actually a returning guest, Alicia from Soul Riot LLC, that I actually interviewed, I believe, last year. I believe it was last year, yeah. And we're going to be talking about how, the universe has just been crazy lately and how we can actually learn from it and organize ourselves in a better way. So be on the lookout for that. I do know that I may be taking a break after that because it is going to be kind of back to back recording and getting things together. It might be on a short hiatus after, but in between that, if anyone wants to join me for an episode or a quick, short one, short clip, let me know. You all know that I'm always open to guests and any topic really. We can talk about anything you really like. It is a safe space here. But I do hope you enjoyed the episode today. And again, thank you for listening. Check us out on all our other platforms. Follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram. You'll find my own accounts where you can also follow my apparel line and all my other projects, books. So definitely give me a follow. And thank you for listening.